24 turning 25, and I woke up on January 1st that year, and I just looked at myself in the mirror. I was very overweight, depressed, just in a bad place mentally, physically. I felt like I was doing all the right things in life. You know, I had gone to school, I had gotten the good grades, gotten the normal corporate career. I was working at Fox News, and I just woke up and looked at myself in the mirror, and I just said to myself, if you keep waiting for life to change and get better, it's never going to happen unless you do something about it.
Yeah.
And I knew I just had to drop the weight, both physically and the procrastination of taking action to do something to change the situation that I was in. First, I have to start loving myself and taking care of myself. So on that first day of the year, I pulled my scale out from underneath my bed. I dusted it off. I stepped on it, and I had seen a number that I had never seen before. I was over 200 pounds. I was like, no, that's it. I had tried so many diets and things in the past. I struggled with my weight my entire life and was bullied for it. And I was like, this is not okay. I'm going to lose this weight once and for all. Like, this is going to be the last time I ever start losing weight again. So I got online, I signed up for Weight Watchers. I started feeling good. I was working at Fox News, and I would be like in my cubicle tracking my lunch that I was so happy that I just got a salad from the salad shop instead of like the sandwiches that I was normally getting. And I was feeling really good, and I was starting to lose weight. And I looked up at my computer, and I was working on a sales deck for Viagra. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. It was for Pfizer, but I was just, I looked at the computer. I was like, am I seriously taking screenshots of Viagra ads to then drop in how many times people clicked on it to prove that sales are working for them? I was like, this is not it.
It's not making you happy.
It's not making Viagra at the time was not making me happy. Somewhere down the road it will, but at the time, no, it was not. So I said, you know, as I'm tracking my food and I'm feeling really good, I'm like, wow, Weight Watchers is really helping me. And I tried Weight Watchers in the past, but this time around, I was leading with my heart and with love for myself versus a number on the scale. And I was like, this is a company I would love to work for. Like, they're really helping me change my life. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people change their lives. I wonder if there's any job openings. And I knew that they were based in New York City. So I just went on their website and I searched, and there was a job opening in products and e-commerce. And it was working on, you know, the products that you see in the grocery stores and in their meeting rooms, the different types of food products and things that they sell to help people, you know, stay on track with their program. And I'm like, wow, this sounds really interesting. It's creative, worried about money. It was oh my God, what's next? And so I walked into my boss's office on that Monday and I resigned. And she said, well, what are you going to do next? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. and it was liberating and freeing and terrifying all at the same time. And I sat back down at my desk, and I remember looking at my notepad and my BlackBerry and my iPhone, because I was in digital operations. So that's when ads on iPhones started becoming a thing. This is how old this is. But like, this was the era where like BlackBerries were king and iPhones were like just starting to make their way. And I looked down and I was like, I can not wait to stop carrying 3 phones. Like I'm like, and all of a sudden my phone rings and I pick it up. It's a 212 number. And this woman's like, hi, this is Hope from Weight Watchers.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
perfect timing. Fate.
What? I was like, this is not real. This is not real. This is not real. Like, the limiting beliefs of like, this can't possibly, I just called this into the universe.
Yeah.
Like, this
is just quit. Yeah.
I literally just quit, and this is happening. And so I schedule interviews. I go through 3 rounds of interviews, and I get a phone call back like the next morning, and Hope's like, Stacy loved you. They want to bring you onto the team. And I was like, wow, great. So and it took about like 6 weeks from starting to interview to getting the offer. And for the first time in my life, I did something completely not normal, and I set a boundary. And she asked me, could you start? And normally I would be like, I can start right away. let me help, like, let me do whatever I can to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instead I said, I can start after June 5th, which was my birthday. And I was turning 25, and one of my younger sisters, Kelly, was turning 21. And I took us on a trip to Miami. And it was like the most adult freeing thing I felt like I've ever done.
Mhm.
And then I started the job at Weight Watchers, and I lost 50 pounds. I
Wow.
actually became a meeting
Wow.
leader, in addition to my corporate job. So I was
Yeah.
helping them develop fitness and nutrition programs. I was helping Weight Watchers develop fitness programs, and then I helped them also launch their one-on-one coaching platform.
Oh, wow.
And then I also became a meeting leader. So
Mhm.
I was coaching others in the meeting room. I was also helping them launch this one-on-one coaching platform, which then I became a coach on. So
Yeah.
I was helping people create results in their life through health and wellness.
Yeah.
And I was also, they had a very small fitness portfolio at the time, and I was helping develop that. So I did a Pilates program,
Mhm.
the I did a dance program with
Mhm.
this incredible woman, Elise Baker. Had a boss at the time that started to pull the projects that were making me joyful, that were bringing me joy.
Really?
And she didn't love um, that other departments in the company were pulling me in to help on other projects. So
Mm.
the leader development team who was developing the coaching platform, they're like, well, hey, Caitlin, what do you think of this? Dance program that we created was the first fitness program that they had ever created that sold out.
Wow.
And I was so proud of that. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what else are we going to do with fitness? And she took it away from me and gave it to this other girl.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, I was starting to feel like I was, I don't know if she was feeling threatened or
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
but, and at the time there was another girl on my team I was an assistant manager. She
Yeah.
was a manager. She was not doing her job well. And there was rounds of layoffs, and I think I went through 3 rounds of layoffs at Weight Watchers, and I always stayed there,
Mhm.
um, which uh, I believe shows the value that I bring, which for a long time, like, it would be hard for me to see my own value.
Yeah.
And so I was getting really frustrated because now I'm taking on this manager's role, and then I get my annual review and they go, we'll create a roadmap for you to become a manager next year. And I was like,
Next year. You're like, "But I'm doing so much
I've
now."
been doing her work while
Yeah.
she was here, and now I'm doing her work without her here and without extra support. And I'm supposed to just keep doing this work without being properly
Compensated.
compensated,
Yeah.
and not working on things that I really loved.
Yeah.
And I had a mentor at the time who was a meeting leader. Uh, she was a meeting leader, and I learned how to become a leader under her. She was phenomenal, and I regret losing touch with her. I can't even, like, phone resetting, whatever. I don't have her number, but I was so grateful to have her at the time
Yeah.
because she came from corporate America. She was a writer and a journalist, and she really helped me navigate that time. And she
Mhm.
said, look, you gotta, if there's one thing I've learned in life, you gotta go after what you're passionate about and what is going to bring you joy. And if you
Yeah.
no longer have joy in what you're doing,
Yeah.
go look for something else. So
Mm.
in 2015, I had a friend who started doing this program by Beachbody, this 21-day fix program.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, I need something different with my fitness. So I started doing that program. But so my friend at the time says, why don't you work for Beachbody? Like, they're like the kings of fitness programs. And limiting belief, I go, they're based in California. I would never live in California.
Mhm.
I'm sitting in Los Angeles right now.
Yeah.
Um,
See,
never
that's what
say
yeah, that's why I
never.
love the stories because you never know where you came from and how'd you get to California, you know?
Yeah. So how did I get to California? We'll get there.
Yeah.
Another wild story, which when I hear it myself repeat it back, I'm like, that really happened. So she said, and I remember walking down the street from the subway, living on Central Park North at the time with my boyfriend, now husband. Um, and that's a whole nother side
Whole
story,
nother side
which
story.
came out of momentum. But so with Weight Watchers, and the transition to Beachbody. So I'm walking down the street, and I said, why am I telling myself no
Mhm.
before even seeing if it can be a yes?
Yeah.
And so I just looked on their website and they had one product development job open in New York City. I'm like,
Wow.
they have offices here?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Perfect.
So I'm like, okay, I know sending my resume out into the ethernet worked for Weight Watchers, but I think at this point it's more about developing connections and stepping out of my comfort zone. So I started thinking, like, who do I know that is connected to Beachbody that could connect me with the team that would hire for this position? The saying of, oh, what the fuck, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, what the fuck, do whatever it takes to get this
I love
job.
it.
Because
Love it.
it was going to be developing fitness programs. It was going to be helping run focus groups. So I would be able to still coach in some capacity, which I love, just being able to
Mhm.
work with people one-on-one and coach them and
Yeah.
help them break through what's blocking them to get them to where they truly wanted to be. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, there's this job opening in New York City. What do you know about it? And she's like, oh, that's my dear friend Lara. Here, like, I think it's kind of a step back from where you are because it was a coordinator position and I
Mhm.
was an assistant manager. She's like, but look, I think sometimes in life you take one step back to take two steps forward. And I really think this could propel you and be a really good fit for you. So she then connected me with Lara. I went on one interview with her.
Mhm.
We had coffee for like 10 minutes and she's like, I think you're great. You're great. You're great. Like
Great.
Andre
You got
loves
it. You
you.
got the
Like,
job.
great. Like, no problem. And I was like, what? I was like, that seemed way too easy. But also at the time, her director had just resigned. So
Mm.
she actually needed someone more senior in the role, which is what I was
Oh.
actually fit for.
Yeah.
So within 2 weeks of meeting Lara, I got an offer to be brought on for a manager position. And I think I doubled my salary or
Mhm.
almost doubled it. And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
And the limiting beliefs of, am I worthy of this?
Yeah.
Like what? And not the thought of like I was so undervalued or underpaid at Weight Watchers. That wasn't coming to mind. It was, how could I possibly be worthy of this? And that's something like, for like women in general, like if women are listening to this, know your worth.
Yeah.
Like whatever you think you're worth, you're probably worth more.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that for a long time. And that goes back to not being taught about money, not being taught about value. Just like money was this like scary thing, or this thing
Yeah.
that there's never enough of growing up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that mindset that was sitting in my blind spot that I didn't even know was feeding into this story that I was telling
Yeah.
myself, that like, how could I possibly be worthy of this? And then from a manager, I got promoted to a senior manager, and like I grew very quickly there. And it wasn't because of just luck, which is a story that I told myself for quite some time. It was because I was damn good at what I did. And it's still, but from childhood, there was still a story in my head of like, how could you be successful and be creative like this?
Yeah.
How could you be truly joyful and loving what you do so much and be successful? Like, because
Mhm.
that was the narrative I was taught. And I
Yeah.
saw my father be miserable in his job, made a lot of money, but miserable. Like I thought, like, you suffer to have success. Like, get to do what I love. Like, and that's okay. Like that is actually what you're meant to do. Like
Yeah.
everyone has gifts, everyone has a light that they're meant to lead with.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful when you actually allow yourself to do
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
like I remember when you came on one of the calls in the workshop, and you wanted to get your subscribers over 1,000. And within like, I think like 30 minutes, like people were just like,
Yeah.
subscribe,
Everyone's like,
subscribe, subscribe,
Send us
subscribe.
the link. Send us the link." I'm like,
Right.
"Awesome. Great."
And all you have to do is speak what you want and
Mhm.
then take action.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done, because for a long time, like I wouldn't take action because it didn't seem like the right thing to do. It didn't seem like I was worthy of taking that action, or because it seemed weird or not
Yeah.
normal or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And so I really learned how to change my relationship with food
Mhm.
when I lost the weight with Weight Watchers. However, the one thing that really didn't stick with me long term with Weight Watchers was like, I always felt like it was exhausting that everything had a value to it. Every food had a value to it.
Yeah.
Can I eat this? How many points is this going to cost me? Like
Yeah.
everything cost me something.
Yeah.
And that really messed with my mindset with food, because I
It's
actually,
exhausting.
I developed such a fear and exhaustion around food,
Mhm.
and I was really scared of food. Like, I
Yeah.
lost a lot of weight, I looked great, I looked healthy, but every time I would go to put something in my mouth, I'm like,
You're gonna have fear and guilt and shame of
yeah, I'm
eating.
like, how much is
Mhm.
this gonna cost me? And then I would try to, like, if I went out for brunch with my girlfriends, I would then try to undo it with like a 5-mile run the next day. And like, you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yeah, you
And
can't.
so
Yeah,
exercise,
yeah.
I would probably be, I'm not exaggerating, 260 pounds, single, in some shitty cubicle,
Mhm.
hating my life.
Yeah.
Like, that was the road that I was going down. That was going to be my future. And because I had hustle and grit and like the I'm a fucking New Yorker, I'm going to
Yeah.
work my ass off and get to the top.
Mhm.
I would have had that, but it would have came with a lot of resentment, a lot more emotional eating,
Yeah.
and it would have
Your health. You would
my,
cost
my
your
health
health.
would have been in
Mhm.
jeopardy. My relationships with myself would have been in jeopardy. I probably would not be married. I
Mhm.
certainly would not be a mom. Like, that's where I was headed,
Yeah.
because I didn't know how to love myself. And
Mhm.
until I did that workshop and allowed myself to explore what is actually possible,
Yeah.
I would have went down a totally different path. Um, and maybe I would have gotten married. Maybe I would have. And once I moved out to New York City and went to FIT and started to experience other cultures and started to experience different things, and then learn like I need to love myself, like
Yeah.
the roadmap or the blueprint for that success, which is all defined by based on whatever you think success is, that my parents gave me, like, go to school, get good grades, get a normal good job,
Mhm.
marry a white boy,
Mhm.
have kids, retire, work hard, retire, success.
Yeah.
That's life.
Mhm.
That is how you have a quote unquote successful life. Well, I finally woke up and realized in 2012 that that's not actually really working for, like, in the pictures it looks like it's working for my parents.
Yeah.
On the inside, I knew
They're
how
not like not
unhappy,
happy. Yeah.
and they're exhausted all the time and frustrated. And my mom has always struggled with her weight, and then my dad did too.
Mhm.
And I just started realizing, like, what is the food that we're putting in our bodies doing to us? When I
Yeah.
started learning about nutrition, learning about that, I have one body and I need to take care of it. I believe that nutrition should be like we were conditioned that every meal needs to be some kind of like eating experience.
Yeah. And like there's always snacks. There's always snacks. So your body's not literally having a break of
Right,
eating.
you're
It's eating
constantly
snacks.
eating, you're
Yeah.
constantly preoccupied with food, and it's exhausting. And when I lost the weight with Weight Watchers, it was exhausting that I was still preoccupied. Like, I thought losing the weight, I would stop being so preoccupied with food, but I was still
But
so
then you're
preoccupied
more,
with food
right? Because you're
because
always calculating.
I'm just calculating and I'm wondering, what is this going to cost me and how is this going to affect me? And if I eat this, how many miles do I have to run? And like, I was always trying to play this manipulation game between
Yeah.
food and exercise, and it was exhausting. And
Mhm.
thank God, in 2016, working at Beachbody, my boss met this registered dietitian, Alana Malstein. And when I started shifting to her first two principles, water first and veggies most, and just making sure that I'm drinking, I mean, literally, this thing is like glued to me.
Yeah.
When I started just drinking more water and focusing on eating vegetables especially at lunch and dinner, and then at breakfast, like in an egg omelet as extra credit, I started losing weight right away. And the way that I was tracking, I was just tracking like drank water,
Yeah.
egg omelet, whole grain toast. Lunch would be, a turkey sandwich with lettuce, tomato, onion, cheese, and a side of carrots. And just simple. And
Mhm.
I didn't feel like there was no mechanism that was judging me if I was doing it right or wrong.
Mhm.
And it just felt so freeing. And so I started losing weight with this without exercising, and I was mind blown. And then we progressed over from 2016 to 2018. We worked with hundreds of people to develop
Mhm.
this program, which is now called the 2B Mindset. And through that process, I got to coach hundreds of people to
Mhm.
change their relationship with food, to change their relationship with themselves, because
Yeah.
you can, like I did, like, you can lose the weight, but if
Mhm.
your mindset stays back here, you are
Yeah.
much more likely for that weight to go
Yeah.
right back
All
to
the way it's
where
just
you
gonna
started.
come back. Yeah.
So
Because
like
you're
your
gonna
mindset,
emotionally eat again eventually when you're not happy with what the system is doing.
yeah. So it's learning, like, in those moments of like, I had a really hard day, my kids were screaming, instead of grabbing the donut you go for a walk and you
Yeah.
drink some water,
Hmm.
and helping people learn how to create new consistent habits that are going to serve them best in the long term,
Hmm.
like lights me up like crazy.
Yeah.
And my CEO came out in October of 2018. Our wedding was November of 2018.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he asked me, would you consider moving out to Los Angeles? And I was like, I'm getting married in like 2 weeks. It's a very loaded question right now.
Yeah. Yeah. This is too much stress for me right now.
I'm like, um, let me not say no.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me think
Let
about
me
it.
think about it. I obviously got to talk to my future husband and see what that could look like for us.
You still got to go to a honeymoon and
Yeah. And then he also asked, because our coach development team is based in Utah, a bride to be and a aspiring mother at the time. I'm
yeah.
seeing women schlep strollers in the rain up and down subways, and I'm like, that is not my future. Like
No, that
I
does
don't
not
want
sound
that.
like
Like,
fun at all.
sign me up for the car.
Especially what happens in New York in the subways right now with this rain, right? Well, thank God you're not in New York.
Yeah, like it's the move was right for us for sure. And so I started really like envisioning myself like, okay, if we don't want to be in, it sounds real appealing right now. So
Yeah.
I we get married, we go on our honeymoon to Jamaica, we and then the conversation of like, my evolving role within the company, we continue to have the conversation. And then so in June of 2019, we come out to California. My Mark hadn't been out here since he was a kid, just to see like, okay, what would it feel like if we moved out here?
Is he from California?
No, he's from Brooklyn.
Okay.
From Brooklyn, and then went to high school at Brentwood, and
Hmm.
then moved back into the city with his mom in Harlem,
Okay.
which is where we met. We'll pivot to that whole story. Um, but so with my career, we come out, we explore California, and we're like,
Hmm.
let's do it. And my role keeps evolving, and the way that we're doing things, we just keep trying new things and explore, which I love that I have the ability to do that within the company that I work
Yeah.
for and the role
Yeah.
that I'm in,
Hmm.
because like it just allows the creativity that was boxed in for so long as a kid. Like I'm now able to fully explore it and
Yeah.
fully use it. And one thing that I've learned with momentum and the work and all the personal development work that I've done for myself throughout my career, I've worked with career coaches. I did another cycle of momentum, like that. There will always be limiting beliefs from our childhood, that
Yeah.
inner child, that
Yeah.
wounded
All
child.
that stuff that you have to unlearn.
Like it shows up. And if we just quiet it and like, no, like, and we just try to fake it till we make it, you will continue to sit in some kind of discomfort. And you actually have to allow that voice to be there, acknowledge it, and then let it know like it's okay, like we've
Yeah.
evolved, we are safe, we are able to do this. And like for me, like you are able to be in a really creative position and love what you do every single fucking day.
Yeah.
You get to do that or whatever. So, that doesn't matter. Like I can do something different. And I started thinking like, well, what would that be? And I started asking friends like, what am I good at? What would you come to me for? Like, what am I helpful with? And they're like, you're a really good listener. You have so much advice of like how to change your attitude. Like you have such a positive mindset and how to change your attitude on not just fitness and nutrition, but just life. And like that sparked from that first workshop that I did with Momentum in 2012, which I did the basic workshop. If for anyone listening who's not familiar with this organization, they have three levels of these workshops that layer on top of each other. So basic is like you kind of crack the surface, and then advanced. Have you done advanced? And
I did advance. Yeah.
did advanced,
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
so there's a basic workshop, which is a 3-day workshop, and then advanced is a longer workshop
Hmm.
where like to me like basic is like you started like I always go back to this like garden analogy. It's you're in the garden and you're observing like, oh, there's some weeds there. Oh, there's some weeds there. Oh, that's not really working for me. That's not growing the way that I wanted it to grow. And that advance is like you're ripping up the roots of the shit that is not working. That is not meant to be in your garden of life. Like it
Yeah.
is not
Yeah. Yeah.
helping you grow and
They just rip
flourish.
that shit out.
Yeah. And then leadership, you plant every tree that is meant to bring you prosperity
Yeah.
in your garden of life to help you grow and flourish and succeed the way that you're supposed to
Did you do
succeed.
all three?
I did all three.
Mm.
And my leadership team, I mean, the results that we created, the amount of money we saved, the amount of relationships we changed, I really have to start foster. I did basic, and then I did advanced
Mm.
in July. And during that time frame, I was like, I'm not going to date anyone. This is my time. Like, I just started my job at Weight Watchers. I just started really loving myself, taking care of my body, learning how to be with me, because I was always distracted with the relationship. Like, I felt like I had to have a boyfriend to be validated for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like the year of me. I'm focusing on me. I'm figuring out who I am and who I want to be. And so I wasn't dating anyone. And in August, I had met right before I did advance, I had met this guy, and I was like, kind of, sort of. And total side note, once I moved to New York City, I was dating this Italian guy from Long Island, like super Long Island Italian guy. And what I learned was that most people around me were very, very racist.
Mm-hmm.
And all my friends in college were either Latina, Black, gay, like they were not of Eastern Long Island.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even my friends, I had friends, some of my girlfriends from high school, I'm no longer friends with, but the friends at the time were half Mexican and half Filipino, but they were so whitewashed because of where they grew up that they even judged me for having friends of different cultures. Like,
Oh,
aren't those
what?
girls ghetto? And I'm like,
Oh
no, they're not,
no. What?
because they're from Queens. Like, what? And like,
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. And even to this day, sometimes I'm like, my husband even says it. He's African Latino, he's Panamanian and African American. Like, how did you break free from all of this?
Finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living, and art of it and everything.
I hope that you've cut that piece right there.